The Blokebusters podcast is a proud member of the Pod Bros Network, where you can find us as well as other excellent podcasts such as Sarcasm City, Worst Millennials, and Late Night Gamers at podbros.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Blokebusters podcast.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Who's gone off? Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
And this is?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, where was I?
Welcome to the 5th annual Unofficial Non-Academy Award Awards, otherwise known as UONAAA. I'm Brian from the Blokebusters podcast, and joining me is
Paul from the Blokebusters podcast. Hello.
and also joining us is...
Hello from England. This is Bear from Back to the Podcast, and on my left
This is Byron, co-host.
And for those of you that want to get a hold of either of us, for any reason whatsoever, you can find the Blokebusters on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Blokebusters. You can email us blokebusterpodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to blokebusters.webs.com or podbros.com and look for Blokebusters, and that is our little web presence for you guys there. And the Back to the Podcast guys, what are you?
You've got so many more than us. Ours is relatively simple. Just Back to the Podcast on Twitter, Amazon, on Facebook, Amazon, Instagram. We're not on Amazon, don't worry. Sorry, that was a slip of the tongue. Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Like the Prepared Blokebusters, we don't have a website, but it's something that's in the pipeline. And yeah, that's it. Our social media is much more contained.
Yes,
much more reserved.
Yes, yeah. I have been over the years working on trying to get it out as quickly as possible because
what are you talking about?
Quiet. So, never you mind.
Yeah. All right. Well.
So,
what did you think of the offering of films we got of 2017 before we go straight into the nominations?
Oh.
Yeah. Well, who wants to go first? You want to go first?
Ahead.
No, me? Okay, I'll go first. Well, the offerings from last year. Well, there were many. Many films from 2017.
Lots of good films, the best films.
Yes, the best films.
The best brains behind those films.
Exactly, yes. My problem, having a very young daughter, is that I didn't get to see most of them. So for me, the smattering of films I got to see were quite enjoyable for the most part. So I quite liked some of the things we got. I did think maybe not quite as many notable ones as some of the other years, but still we definitely had quite a few gems in there that we'll be getting to.
Yeah. I did get out to see quite a lot. As far as the entire year, I thought it was a kind of mediocre year in film. There were a couple of outliers of just fantastic films, which we will definitely will be mentioning, I'm sure, here shortly. But once again, just I think as much as I do enjoy the Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff, just very heavy. I think their most releases in a year, I think they had 3. Three. Right. Yeah. But just so heavy loaded on that end. We need to see more films like one of the ones we'll be mentioning, kind of independent films that are really fantastic. But as a whole, I thought it was so-so, just with a couple of great exceptions in there. You guys?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt... I kind of felt like it was a relatively good year. I mean, for films. I mean, it always resonates with me when I come to like our worst film category, and I think, well, if I've got, hundreds to rattle off, then that sort of says something to me. And this year, I don't feel like there was that many. I feel like I agree with you, Brian, that I think it wasn't the best year, but it also wasn't the worst. I think there was a lot of interesting films came out this year, and a lot of again, we'll be mentioning, I'm sure, several of them, but I just don't feel like there were too many terrible ones. I feel like there could have been a few more great ones. We'll see what 2018 brings, but yeah, I was okay with it. Byron?
Absolutely. It feels that now that in the industry we're getting some well-established sections that movies like to operate in, and that fans can clearly identify with the kind of movie they like, and then they can confidently go to the cinema to get what they're expecting. But what's nice about it on the playing field is that there's still a few little wild cards that come out as well. This year we saw things like What Happened to Monday, Wind River was another one that I really enjoyed, and then there's some really kind of oddball movies as well, like Shape of Water. So there's some interesting things that have been coming through as well as the really big obvious Hollywood blockbusters, the epics that we expect, very, very cinematic. So it's been an exciting year. I think that this is a pretty positive indicator right now for movies of 2018. And I think it's going to be a good and a healthy and exciting and diversified year for cinema this year as well.
Yeah.
Well put. Very well put.
And also, and feel free to cut this out, I'm fucking kicking myself for not putting Noomi Rapace forward for What Happened to Monday.
I was just thinking, when he said that, I was thinking, oh yeah, well, I knew we were going to.
Wait a minute, didn't we?
We can't add it in now. It took too long to get to the decision we came to.
Wait, what? Oh god, this is not a good podcast, boys. Let the battle begin.
Yeah.
So anyway, try and find a good edit point. And,
no, just keep it in. Just keep it in.
Yeah, I think I'll be going first, and the first category we have this year is the first category we had last year, which is the best male actor, and there is zero reason why that is first over female. It just happened to be what it was.
Well said, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yes, the nominees for this one, we have Kumail Nanjiani for The Big Sick, Hugh Jackman in Logan, Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out, and also Bill Skarsgård in It. And the winner is Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out. Yeah. And very well deserved.
Yes, absolutely.
So, who wants to put forward why this one won?
Well, I would like to hear what Back to the Podcast has to say, because we may or may not get to some thoughts on.
I mean, I know you're saving something up for later, but yeah, I mean, this film just absolutely took me by surprise. I mean, I was not expecting to enjoy this film and be as surprised by this film as I was, and I think a large part of it was down to young Daniel's performance there. Just absolutely blew it out of the water. I felt. I don't know if you agree with me, Byron, but
absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, I'm sorry, Byron. Yes, our names do sound similar. I apologize.
Yes, you got to have a nickname. So come on.
Yeah, no, I thought it was fantastic. What I like about this movie, and I'm sure we might be mentioning a bit more about Get Out in a while, is just the fact that it's interesting that in the broad base of cinema, the kind of category that this movie would occupy, which kind of crosses over virtually into horror, and it's thriller, horror drama, you wouldn't necessarily think it would win and get into an Oscars sort of category podcast when there's so many big standard movies that could sort of get an actor in with massive budgets, and yet a budget for a movie that was much smaller, that was a different kind of operation, that didn't require large, green screen type effects, and here we have the best male wins. I think that says something about this movie.
Yeah, definitely, and it's one of those things where relatively unknown actor when it comes to the type of people you would end up seeing in Best Actor categories, and I'm very happy to be able to give this guy a little award.
Yeah, he just so perfectly played that situation that I think none of us can imagine being in.
No, yes.
And this just dealing with these extremely racist assholes, and it gets worse from there. If you haven't seen the film.
And try not to spoil for you.
Yeah. But yeah, he just plays that horror and that allegory so well. yeah, I'm excited to see those actual awards, to see how things, not that these aren't actual, but the televised version, to see how things go down, because I'm really rooting for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastically done.
Okay.
All right. So, category number 2, I believe I'm passing this one over to Brian.
That is correct. So this would be for Best Female Actor. Our nominees are Emma Stone for Battle of the Sexes, Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman, Anne Hathaway for Colossal, and Allison Williams for Get Out. And the winner is Emma Stone for Battle of the Sexes. So the reason I'm presenting this one is I was alone on this one, but the boys were very kind to me here. And because of my passion for this role in this movie, it's a fantastic movie that really, the numbers didn't do it justice. And it is, if for anyone not aware, it is about the, I believe, 1973 match between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. Bobby Riggs being a kind of has-been tennis player at that time, but well-known hustler and chauvinistic, sexist asshole. And, challenging women to this match. And Billie Jean King, they have this epic match. And it's kind of the... one of the inciting things of the women's movement, that kind of inciting incidents, and she just plays this real life person who, Billie Jean King was completely on board for. She embodies that role so perfectly. You forget you're watching Emma Stone about 5 minutes into the movie.
Right.
It feels like you're watching documentary footage almost. It is fantastic, and everyone should see it. Steve Carell is great in it. But she was just phenomenal and should have gotten the Oscar for this and not for her so-so La La Land.
Yeah, I agree with that.
but even though I was probably on the record as having loved that at the time, but yes. But the things have settled, and but just can't say enough great things about it. So encourage everyone to see this, and that is all that I have to say about that.
All right, and for the next category, which will be Best Young Adult, I believe we are passing this one off to Byron.
Okay, so it's a pleasure to read this one out for the Best Young Adult. There were some incredibly promising actors that were put forward here, and it seems to be a very good year for young actors, and with no sign of that stopping in the terms of the way they take on roles and the volume of roles that they get. So without further ado, the nominations for the Best Young Adult. Sophia Lillis in It. Amia Miller in War for the Planet of the Apes. Daphne Keane in Logan. And Finn Wolfhard in the movie It. And the winner from It is Sophia Lillis.
Byron, why don't you start on why she won the?
Yeah, like I say, I think this has been a good year for young actors, and as well in television as well as for cinema. One of the things that when I saw this movie that really stood out about this actress, and one of the things that I look for in a category like this is basically a young person that has the capabilities of a much older actor. When I watched her performance, I felt that this is something that a 30 or 40-year-old actress is doing, and she's in her teenage years. She's able to get the audience laughing at moments in that performance. She gets them crying. She displays vulnerability, and she displays strength, all in one movie with a huge dynamic playing range. And I felt that was, for me, a really clear backer for the win on the Best Young Adult this year. Bear, you had some thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree. This is something that we actually talked about quite a lot before we came to record, because obviously this film, we were sport for choice for, if you're looking for, in previous years when we've been looking for nominees for Best Young Adult, this year we had one film that had about 8 of them in it. We were really sport for choice for this year in this film. But I think there was just something special about this actress and the character she played that just stood out so much. But we were going to say, I think the guys in America are joining with us to say that, you know, obviously we nominated one other character from It in that, but we were going to sort of give an honourable mention to the whole ensemble cast of It because they were just all fantastic. You know, we obviously nominated.
No weak link there at all.
Yeah. It was a joy to watch that film, and it was a joy to watch all of them playing off each other. And I think Paul, you mentioned your love for Finn Wolfhard. Is it Hart? Sorry, I can't read this.
It's Hart.
Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things, and then obviously appearing in It, and just did such a great job in both, but you know, especially in this one.
Yeah, and I think obviously they wouldn't have wanted to do it because you don't want to have so many kids coming over from Stranger Things, but I would love to have seen what Millie Bobby Brown would have done if she'd have been involved. But I think she pretty much the same as Sophia. She has a range and a depth that you don't see very often in people of this age. So I think it would have been a real battle, actually, if we'd had something with her in it come out. So.
Very good. Yeah, very good point.
Okay, well, I think that's over to me then for the next award. This is our fourth award, and this is the award for Best Use of Special Effects. And all these films excite me greatly, so I'm very pleased to read this one out. So the nominees for Best Use of Special Effects are Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Logan, War for the Planet of the Apes, Star Wars The Last Jedi, Wonder Woman, and Thor Ragnarok. And the winner for the Best Use of Special Effects is Logan. I mean, I think this is pretty much a dead set for all of us. I think we pretty much conclusively came to this decision. I think this was actually one of the only ones where we did come to a conclusive decision. But I think, you know, we all agreed that, yeah, you know, for these sort of categories, you know, we're looking for something that's not only done really well, but done in a kind of different and special way. And this film really did that. This film was fantastic in so many ways, but their use of those sort of special effects to bring this character to life one more time was just so wonderful in this film. What did you guys think?
Right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I ended up watching this film 2 days ago.
Oh, really?
Because I was like, I've got to see this film. Like, I knew it would come up in this award, and I was like, I need to see it. It's been so long, and I started watching it, and I just started realizing this is what we wanted from the X-Men universe from the beginning.
Yes.
Like, this is what needed to happen, and it just didn't. And I know how much somebody here absolutely hate Deadpool, but without Deadpool, this film wouldn't have existed in this format, I think. So like, I'm so glad that they were able to take the risk and get this film out there. And it leads, like, you know, the graphic violence and the swearing and stuff from the characters. I think it deepens the characters and it's able to let them really run with.
Well, yeah, it's the content needs to suit the character, and it's fine to have PG or PG-13 comic book movies if that's how the character is portrayed in those stories and in those comics.
Yeah,
but Wolverine has always not been that. He's always been a very R-rated character, as was Deadpool.
Yeah,
and
he's someone
to finally see him as he should have been. And I know this category is effects, but you're very much watching a character piece and not a spectacle. And so that's kind of what we go with this award is you're really not paying attention to the special effects. They're woven in so well.
Yeah, they just
you're really
build
paying
upon
attention
this,
to the narrative on screen.
Yeah. Again, so happy I got to see this one finally.
Yeah, this was I would have seen it 3 times in the theater, but I could only make it in there twice. So.
All right. So I believe, yes, coming back over to you now, Brian.
Alrighty. So this one, tangentially off of the last category, is the best use of minimal special effects.
Yes.
So our nominees this year are The Big Sick, Baby Driver, Get Out, and Dunkirk. And our winner is Dunkirk.
Hey.
So I want to toss it over to across the pond here and see what the Back to the Podcast had to say on this one.
Yeah, I think we should just open up with clarification of the best use of minimal special effects, because it feels like a category that shouldn't exist in an awards show. But when we talk about the best use of minimal special effects, what this means is that your approach to movie making is more rooted in getting everything as real as you possibly can. So you won't want to use a green screen for the ship. You want an actual ship. If that means you've got to go back to a vessel from the 1930s to do that, to get it elaborately brought to set, then that's what you're going to do. And you'll go to real painstaking effort to get as much of the original apparatus as you could to tell the story, and the minimum amount of tweaking. So it also gives artists like stuntmen the ability to display what they can really do without too much fiddling about, as well as props, as well as the landscape picture behind it. And I feel, for me, I felt pretty positive about Dunkirk, because I know they went to great lengths in costuming, in props, and of course in the ships and everything in the setting, as much as they could, to bring everything together to do the best possible job and give you a minimal use of special effects in the cinema.
Yeah, I mean, I'd second all that. I mean, we obviously did a joint review on Dunkirk in the summer, and I think it was pretty unanimous that, you know, this was obviously going to be a standout film for the year. And I agree with Byron. I always like to see things done kind of that way, as opposed to, you know, green screen and bits and pieces. It just feels so much more legitimate and you know, real to see this actually kind of unfolding in front of you. And I just think this film, Christopher Nolan has a wonderful way of doing that anyway. He's brought it to us time and time again, and I think he did wonders with this film. But as you say, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because it's not a film that you walk out the cinema wanting to, you know,
high five.
It's a very difficult difficult film to watch, and it reminds you of a time not so long ago that, you know, this all went down, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those films that I would say, quite rightly so, classified as an epic. Like it's a long film. Mm-hmm. There's it really goes into the nitty gritty of what happened back then. It's very well acted as well.
I was completely, like most war films, I'm very aware. I'm watching like a war movie. I'm kind of paying attention to other things. This was a completely immersive experience. Where just the structure of the narrative, the three timelines, just completely wrapped up into it and completely jolted and shook by this movie. Yeah, completely shook.
I was actually thinking.
I think it was very good at ramping up, accelerating the tension throughout the movie, and maintaining a very high level of tension consistently from the word go. And the trailer seemed to confirm it would do that, and it didn't disappoint when we were in the cinema.
Yeah, the saddest thing for me, because I've had a PlayStation VR thing for a little while now. I think the saddest thing is that they didn't just have the director in there, like obviously filming it on the right camera and all that, but maybe add a 360 camera on top of that and give you the option of having a fully immersive experience in it. Because I think that would be
very impressive.
That would be the reason to get VR technology moving forward, is something like this.
I think we will be headed that direction here soon. But
it makes sense if you can do that, because then when you're, especially for the scenes on the beach where they're waiting and then enemy aircraft is coming in, because then you could really look around and get a very different depth of feel for the tension on the beach during that moment.
Yeah, and then if you know that the aircraft is coming, you can watch people further down the beach than you ever could, starting to duck and all that.
I did want to mention, if we had some sort of, I don't know if I'm going to get agreement here, but some sort of sound editing award in the show, I think Dunkirk would win it hands down.
Oh yeah.
The use of sound in that film, I mean, is just tension building throughout. From Nolan's own personal wristwatch to the sound of the enemy planes, that ring of the planes coming in, it just fills you with dread the whole time. It's like an exciting dread. Like you're looking forward and not looking forward to this at the same time. It's so well done.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
All right.
All right. So I think
moving on
from that fun
to
is
one of the most fun categories to talk about.
Yes.
So this one is biggest disappointment.
Strap in for this one, listeners.
Yeah, this might be a few minutes.
Yes, I believe the agreed upon films for this one are Beauty and the Beast, Thor Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and Ghost in the Shell. And the winner is a tie of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Ghost in the Shell. Because I would not let that one go.
Can we clap or boo on this one?
There was a bit of a consensus here with Guardians of the Galaxy. 2 out of the 4 of us definitely were disappointed with this one.
I wonder which 2 they were.
I don't know.
Name names, Paul. Name names.
Name names. Okay.
Wait, don't name names.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that would be both Byron and Brian.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely not on board with this one.
No. See whatever episode number that was for us. For
you probably should have written those down as well. But yes, they were very much against it, and that would have been the sole winner if I had not fought so hard for Ghost in the Shell to be in here. So why was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 the joint winner for this one from the two of you that did not enjoy it?
So I'll toss it here to you in just a second here, Byron, but just to try to do a real quick 30-second recap of my 30-minute tirade in our podcast episode. This was, disappointment doesn't cover it. This was a bad movie, and people just want to fall in love with this piece of crap, and just because it's Guardians and because we're seeing the same characters dumbed down.
Amen, brother, amen.
And just hit their beats and hit their lines and use the enunciation that they used all in last movie, and oh look, Drax doesn't understand things, and look how cute baby Groot is, and fuck you, and then we're gonna try to weave in this really touching father story. You're a fun Marvel movie. We don't get that shit out of there. It was just an utter letdown, and I don't get why people love this movie. Byron.
Man, this was basically the cinematic equivalent, right, of going to the swimming pool and climbing all the way up to the top of the highest diving board, and just as you get there to be told the pool is now closed.
Perfect. You nailed it, sir.
All right, so that's
much more succinctly than I put it, but as accurate.
So in a nutshell there. I don't think this is the point where we kind of defend it, but
no.
We've got our episode on.
You had your chance to defend
it. I'll just say I somewhat disagree with that sentiment. There we go.
Everyone's entitled to their wrong opinion.
And I do as well. I do as well. Sitting here quietly listening to it all unfold.
Yes. But yes, and I could not let Ghost in the Shell get by without being up for this one because, as people that listen to our podcast might be aware, I am an anime fan. I am really into that. Ghost in the Shell was my first anime that I watched, knowing what was an anime that I got into. I watched all the series. I watched all 3 films, and this Ghost in the Shell film, aside from deciding to cast Scarlett Johansson as the Major, which just no. They then decided to incorporate elements from all 3 films and one of the series and change names, dates, and character backstory to make it work. And then they still just made an incredibly boring, mediocre, shitty film. Anyone that loves
the whitewashing was just on the surface of the bad.
Yeah,
for that in a really whitewashed year. But my question for you, and this might be difficult to answer because you're so attached to the source material.
I understand.
Could you objectively see this movie and say it was a okay movie, or if you had not read that? I know that's difficult to try to put your mind in that place.
I have attempted to think back on it and try and go, okay, let's say I didn't know Ghost in the Shell and I was just going into this. The problem is that without knowing some of the backstory of the Ghost in the Shell universe, some of the decisions that they made within the film make no sense.
Okay, see, I've only seen about 30 minutes of it.
Yeah, you would end up getting towards the end of the film and just going... one of the worst things in cinema is the characters start making decisions, or they just bring in a technology and you're supposed to just go, oh, okay, that's in the world. And it's like, well, no, hang on. Like, the big bad guy that's orchestrating everything... He has a piece of technology that's from the first Ghost in the Shell film.
White hair dude, right?
No.
No? Okay, sorry.
No, in this film, it turns out the bad guy is one of the guys that owns the massive corporation. Like, oh no, capitalism. And then he uses a giant piece of technology, which is the finale of the last film. But the bad guy that you thought was a bad guy that isn't is from the second series. But with a slightly different name. And then it also turns out that it's elements from the first film, an AI that they changed the name of for no reason whatsoever. And he's a project number, but the project numbers don't add up, even in universe.
Okay, so there's problems with the film. We get it, Paul. Okay, so yes, we got it. Yeah. We're losing.
But the absolute biggest sin from this film, and the reason it's a disappointment, is it took a hugely beloved franchise and made effectively a Western adaptation of it, but still set in Japan, and fucked it up so badly. That's why it's in here.
Gotcha. Before we move on, was there anyone else wanted to say any piece about the other nominees before we move on? Since this was such a hotly contested category, we want to give that opportunity.
I mean, for me, obviously, I haven't seen Ghost in the Shell, and the two Marvel ones I didn't feel as strongly as everyone else did. For me, my nominee was Beauty and the Beast, and the reason I put that forward for a disappointment as opposed to the worst film is purely because I love the first one, the animated one. Since Disney have been, I'll wrap this up really quickly, don't worry, but since Disney have been kind of trying to remake their films into real films, essentially, non-animated ones, there's been a lot of sticks. People say, oh, you're just trying to sort of resell the films, and I don't believe they are. I believe they're trying to bring something new to these love stories, and I think this is them basically saying, no, we're not actually, we're just trying to make more money. And that's so disappointing, because I don't think they are. I think they are trying. What they did with Cinderella, which isn't a film I'd normally watch, was so wonderful. They took the story and they really modernised it, and they made it very different. They made it very watchable to the sort of modern day audience, which is what they should have done with this. But it was so rushed. I mean, don't get me started on the score and the music. She can't. She is not. I mean, she is not a singer.
We'll chuck you 2 extra songs that are awful.
But she's not a singer at all. I mean, if you want to hear the worst example of auto tuning, someone who can't sing, listen to the soundtrack. It really really upsets me. But obviously,
slightly better than Russell Crowe and Lee.
Yeah, it's on that sort of. It's on that level. You put her. They put her in to sell the tickets or get bums on seats, and it's really not paid off. And they sort of rushed this film through. And I just feel like in this category, that to me was very disappointing, because I like what they're trying to do, and I think this really, really didn't achieve that.
Yeah, and let's have the wonderfully charismatic and handsome Dan Stevens visible for 30 seconds.
Exactly.
As Dan Stevens.
Yeah.
Now, would you have been happy if they did what they do in Aladdin, where they have the actor playing Aladdin or Belle, and then when it comes to her singing, it's another singer that they've hired, and then she had to lip
See, I
sync.
wouldn't have liked that either because that takes me out of it even more.
Does, yeah.
So I would have just preferred to recast.
It's also it's more obvious when it's live action. I mean, you can get away with it when it's animated, and a lot of those animated Disney films did that. You know, not just like several of them had singers to come in, but the one that didn't was Beauty and the Beast. You know, they got this phenomenal singer who could also act to play the part of Belle, and she really got that character. And I mean, I know it's again, people will say, "Well, it's a kids' film," but I see it as so much more than that. Like it won several awards. It's a masterpiece in animated cinema. That film, and that score is it's so wonderfully written, and it's so wonderfully performed by her name escapes me now, but. You can just hear it so exposed. She's there with the orchestra. So when she wants to pull it back, she can, and when she wants to let go a little bit, she can. But if you suddenly pull in someone who can't sing, and in my opinion can't act that well either, you lose all that. It just becomes artificial, and it just feels like again a churning out the machine. You know.
Yeah. So basically, what Disney need to do for these live action adaptations is go to the local theatre and watch some plays and musicals and just hire them, like Idina Menzel when
which
they
is why
come in.
I'm really disappointed they didn't do that, because they've normally been the front runners in doing stuff like that, in the sense that when they've wanted to tell a story well, they've not gone and go, oh, you know, that this person's really popular, let's put them in it. They've cast someone who's actually a decent performer. As you say, Idina Menzel is a great example. Because she's not a Hollywood A-lister. She might be now, but she wasn't at the time she was cast in Frozen. She'd just come off Broadway as the girl in Wicked. So,
yeah, I actually got the chance to see her in London.
That's
really?
awesome.
Really good. Yeah.
Concern yourselves more with making a good movie than getting a big name draw.
Exactly. And that's what I thought they were good at, and this was just like a complete middle finger to that, and just go, oh, let's just get it out quickly. Let's just put Emma Watson in it. It's fine. So yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we try and get out of this?
Just before, Byron, did you need to dig yourself in any further of a hole with Thor, or are you good?
Well, I'd most likely refer the listeners to the previous podcast that we went to in exquisite detail, also referred to as Byron versus the World, that was published just a week or so ago for the Thor Ragnarok. That was, of course, my nomination, and I did go into extreme detail about what my problems were with that. However, I feel that I am somewhat of a minority in that belief, but I didn't want it to go past without giving it one last kick, boys.
And I wanted to give you that opportunity.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
Well, I think everyone should just take a breath, and now I'm really happy to go on to the next category, and everyone just needs to calm down from the last one.
Have a gin and tonic.
And this is a good one. This is a fun one. So I'm happy to be announcing this one. So on this one, we are announcing the best film experience of 2017. So, without further ado, here are the nominations for Best Film Experience, which are Dunkirk, The Greatest Showman, Paddington 2, Wonder Woman, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. And the winner is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy about this, is Paddington 2.
What?
No.
That is not what we agree. What are you doing? That is not what we
I'm so happy. This one was my idea, this one was my nomination, and this I can't be happy if this one won. For me, this was,
ladies and gentlemen, this is what you happen when you podcast with three Brits. So, okay, continue.
This was the best film I saw all year. Just because it was so wonderfully different. It was so beautifully made, and I just was not expecting this film at all. Firstly, I mean, it's a sequel. I mean, I loved the first one. Came out a couple of years ago, and I watched it not expecting to love it as much. I sort of put it on with my daughter. Thought, we'll shove this on. She'll watch it. She got bored within minutes and wandered off, and I was just like, what is this? This is amazing. But this is not like Smurfs 2 or Shrek 2 or whatever. This is a legitimate, brilliant film that's very different to the first. You don't need to see the first to understand or get anything from it. You can just go in completely blind and love it. And Yeah, maybe it's a Brit thing. I don't know, because obviously there's 3 Brits here and
No,
one American. But
I will see this and update everyone. But yeah, it looks like I'd be on board for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, yeah. Bear put this forward, and I saw that, and my immediate reaction was, "What?" Paddington 2. Really? Okay. And I was even joking to my wife, like, okay, I'll watch it. I'm like, I'll see what the fuss is about. I even asked you, do you need to have seen the first one? You said no. And so I was like, okay, good. I don't have to watch Paddington 1. I'll just get into 2. And so I started watching it, and I got about 40 minutes in. I had to pause it for whatever reason. I just turned to my wife and just went, it's actually good. Like, and she just had to think, like, you were making fun of it. Well, I know, I've changed my mind. It's genuinely good. I mean, it is. Try and imagine, for those of you that don't know about it, try and imagine the most sweetly and like just non-insulting British stereotypes you can possibly imagine, and it's in Paddington 2, and it's among every other British stereotype you can find. I mean, it's about a bear who loves marmalade, living with a family in central London, and there's an old actor that steals a book, and he goes to prison for it. I mean, like, what the hell? What kind of a plot is that? But it just works. It's just phenomenal. You get immersed in it, and I was, 10 minutes in, and I was so nostalgic for London. I just wanted to go back there. I just... It's just
I am
amazing.
sold. Robert Crawley is in it, so I'm sold. Robert Crawley.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
yeah, it's a fantastic. If anyone's not seen it, I would recommend massively. We've actually just podcasted it on a whole podcast dedicated to it. But we were talking about how they just balanced that the family loving and the comedy and the emotional scenes as well, just so brilliantly. So when there's a funny moment, it's brilliant, and when there's an emotional moment, it floors you. It's so brilliantly made, and the craftsmanship in the making of this film is great.
I tell you what, it reminded me of. The more I think about that movie, because I was really trying to put it into words, because I went into the Paddington 2 movie thinking I'm not going to like this, but he's really, Bear's asked me to watch it. He's been very, very, passionate about it, so I'll get into it. But I just found it so charming and so disarming, and an incredibly well executed movie. But probably the easiest way I can explain it is, if you guys imagine, those old fashioned Victorian pocket watches, the kind that go on a chain, the ones I mean, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you getting one of those in your hand for the first time ever as a little boy, and then you open up the back of it and you see all of the little cogs and all of the little working parts that make it move, and it's so intricately, beautifully put together and well balanced, and that's what it feels like watching Paddington 2 as a critic.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, I actually ended up seeing this scene before I saw the film, and I enjoyed it just as much when I saw it in the film, if not more so, because I got everything around it. But for me, the best scene in it is when the Browns go to visit Paddington in jail. And he's surrounded by all the other prisoners.
I know the bit.
Yeah. So that one scene, that it kind of encompasses that film. Like there's the uniquely Britishness of it, and just the absurdity, and yeah, it just works. It just works so well.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say any more than that, because I genuinely want people to see the film.
Yeah.
Well, moving on, I believe.
Yeah, I think this one Byron's turn.
Thank you. So the next category we're going to be approaching and announcing the nominees for is the worst film category for 2017. Now, it's important at this point to mention that this is to be differentiated from the biggest disappointment. The biggest disappointment relies upon the viewer being preloaded with a very high expectation about what they're going to see. Now, this could have been because a movie has preceded it, like a volume 1 or a first edition of something or a comic book, and then they fall far. But in order to win the worst film category, it's actually much, much harder. I say quote unquote win the worst film category. In order to win this category, you can't just be a disappointment. You actually need to completely fail to execute the movie on multiple levels so that it is utterly unwatchable. It will need to have a poor plot. It will need to have awful timing, an unhelpful use of special effects that don't buy it any favours, and it sure as hell shouldn't make you feel any sense of care for the characters. In short,
no preloading whatsoever there, Byron.
In short, it should make you hate. So, without further ado, the nominees for the worst film are Geostorm, Valerian, and 50 Shades Darker. And the winner for the 2017 worst film goes to Valerian. Okay, so this is an interesting category. I think we came up with this a few years ago when we started, just to give a little bit of light-heartedness to the awards. But it goes to show, interestingly, that in the cinematic universe, where massive budgets are on the table, and you have access to some of the top writing talent that's available, that this sort of thing can still happen. The fact that this category exists tells you some interesting things about cinema and about the movie making world, and that, in other words, they don't get it right all the time. And sometimes not only do they not get it right, they can get it really, really wrong. Bear, you saw this film as well, so just give us an angle on some of the things we said about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tricky one because I felt like it was so disappointing to the point where we were thinking, oh, should go in biggest disappointment, but it was just so bad that it just needed to be in the worst film category. But it was disappointing in the sense that it could have been so different. This film had certain levels of potential that just went completely wrong. It was a complete shit show, as we said when we were sort of talking about it. As Byron sort of so eloquently put, they've tried to sort of force feed us this make believe story between two characters that you don't care about in the slightest. You don't feel anything for, because they've spent no time sort of properly developing the characters. And it was interesting, Paul, because something you said about Ghost in the Shell, where they were kind of just forcing in bits of technology halfway through, and then suddenly, like, we're just supposed to accept that. That happens so much in Valerian, and I was listening to you say that, and I was thinking this is going to be reminiscent when we do the Valerian bit, because I was thinking it's the same problems, and obviously they've fallen at the same hurdle. Like, they couldn't make up their minds on so many things, and then obviously halfway along the way they thought, oh, do you know what, we need to have this in here now, so we need to just get that, just find a way to get that in, and we'll just hope the audiences are okay with it. There was a lot of that, and there was a lot of just hokey plot and stuff that just didn't make any sense, and it to a point where no one cared. I just didn't care about. I just wanted it to end. I just wanted the film to end and for me to get the 2 hours back.
Wow.
Did it make you hate?
Oh, 2 hours 17 apparently.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, I did not see. I was super excited by the trailer for this, and then it took too long for me to get to the theater, and then by then word was out, as to how utterly shitty this was. And I'm such a fan of Luc Besson, and that's because I don't know. I just want to ask, because he does make somewhat visual masterpieces, and I mean, as bonkers as Lucy was, I still enjoy that movie because it is just fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, were you able to enjoy this visually at all, or
there were points?
You were just angry?
There were points in this film that did look great, and I said to Byron, like, I drew parallels to people like Guillermo del Toro, because there was bits on IMDb trivia about how there were so many different species of alien in this film that he'd obviously created and he'd come up with designs for, and he tried to feature, and some of that was really great. But the problem is it just didn't lead to anything, and it was surrounded by so much inconsistency. So yeah, you're right.
Was it? Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
It was just like a try hard Fifth Element, like try too hard.
Exactly that. And the thing is, it was like he had all the ideas for what could be a visually stunning and interesting idea, but forgot to do anything with the actual plot and the main characters. So some of it looks great, and there's some potential in terms of the like the species and the actual what's going on with the stories of the where they all are and why they're all coming together and stuff. That's quite interesting. But unfortunately, it's like, we said in our podcast, like, if you look at a film like Star Wars, a lot of people sort of say, like, in that first Star Wars film, it's not the best sort of put together film. The original one isn't in movie history. But what carries it is the plot and the characters and the acting of those characters. We all fall in love with Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, and this is like the opposite. It's like there's no one to take us on this journey that we care about, so there is some potential there, but it's lost because there's no one to take us on the journey.
So it sounds like what you probably think is, I know Luc Besson came up with the idea for this film when he was 15, and it sounds like what you're saying is that he then didn't alter it in any way, shape or form before he filmed it.
And forgot to get any direction out of his actors. He just didn't spend any time with the actors or the plot development. It was all just colour and species, and as you say, 15-year-old oh yeah, it's going to be great.
Well, this will be interesting then, because obviously I'm very drawn to visuals, so I think eventually we might cover that one ourselves, and maybe it'll be one of a good polarizing episode where I'll enjoy it for many reasons that others won't.
Well, I look forward to listening to your review when you do it.
You let us know.
Yeah.
I think we will. All right, so moving away from the worst film will be our last category, which I believe is Brian.
That is right. To wrap things up, we have the best film, UONAAA. So I believe our nominees are The Big Sick, Wonder Woman, Get Out, and Logan. And the 2017 best film is Get Out. Yes. This one was somewhat contested. We had a really good conversation that I think we may have gotten.
Yeah,
maybe an Easter egg somewhere.
Maybe able to release it.
But it pretty much came down to Get Out and The Big Sick on this one as the front runners. And Get Out is just, if you haven't seen it by now, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Find someone that has an HBO password, rent it, buy it, whatever. You're not going to be let down. And I don't want to get too long-winded as four white men talk about this film, but because things will go awry. But it is, on the surface, just a great movie, just a well-made horror mystery movie. And then you add in directorial debut. You add in the extremely important social commentary. I saw this as a two-bit, I saw Lego Batman earlier in the day, and then I saw Get Out with my friend. Oh. Probably, in retrospect, maybe reverse that order. It's important for us to feel uncomfortable and not shy away from that, and kind of see things like, I love that, Tiger Woods, and understand why that's horrible and offensive. Yes. And just, there's not enough good things I can say about this film and how it was carried out and executed by Jordan Peele and all of the actors and everyone involved. I just want to toss it to someone else because like I said, will keep going. So anyone else want to chime in on Get Out?
Well, yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you've just said. I watched this one and I'm just completely surprised by it. I think we said on our first category as well that as we discussed when we were talking about the nominees, I think this will go down as more of just a good film. I think this will stand the test of time as a sort of, it's such an iconic moment in time, when it's set, which is this sort of post-Obama American film, and I was absolutely blown away by it. I was more blown away to find out that the director, this was his debut job, and just absolutely smashed this one out of the park. It's funny for me because I watch the Everything Wrong With series on YouTube, which I'm a big fan of. I don't know if any of you watch them, but they're really good fun. So normally I'm into the habit of watching a film and then seeing if he's done an Everything Wrong With, and he'd done one on this, and I watched it, And it's interesting because you always get a feel for how much he loves a film by how much he's sort of retracting, going, do you know what, this is really good. Actually, this is really good. There's nothing wrong with this film. This is really good. And he keeps retracting sins back off because he's like, do you know what, this is really good, this film. So that says a lot to me as well, because I'm a big admirer of that series, and I really enjoyed the film. I really enjoyed of what it said politically.
I was sorry to cut in there, but I also feel that I think one of the reasons why this film resonated well, because as I said before, it's to get a movie that's kind of indexed under the horror end of the spectrum, you know, in this sort of category is not. I don't know how common that is, especially in some of the bigger, you know, other awards as well that happen. But I feel that one of the things I really liked about this movie was that it seemed to tap into the past way that movies were done and thought out as well. And I'll tell you now that I feel that the director, was influenced by someone like Alfred Hitchcock in the way he put this movie together, in the way they structured it. And I could tell you if Hitchcock was around today that he'd watch this, and I could see that this is the kind of movie he'd like to have made, you know, with the kind of technology and the evolution of cinema where it went, you know, where we are now.
Yeah. Well, if you watch Key and Peele and listen to him talk, like, Jordan Peele knows his horror. He's really studied it, and you can tell that coming through. Like, he's a huge fan of it, and he knows how to execute it perfectly. So it's very well.
I mean,
done.
not just a genuinely hilarious, but an incredibly insightful and intelligent person to listen to interviews on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's certainly one to watch. Do you guys know what's coming up for him in the next year or so? Any other bits that we should all keep a heads up for?
I don't know. I need to ask. Yeah, there's just one thing that says upcoming project, unnamed, as far as director. Untitled project. Now I don't know if there is more research to be done. If people know what that is.
I feel like when Get Out came out, there wasn't much preceding it either of like real information about the film. They obviously released a trailer and everything, but you didn't know that much. And I kind of hope that continues, because I always feel, obviously I hate the fact that trailers spoil so much now, but I love when a film comes out and you're like, oh, what's this? I haven't heard about this. Like, then you get to go in without any real expectations, and then hopefully I'm going to hope that Jordan Peele continues making films of this caliber, that he's able to surprise again and again with, like, oh, well, that's really cool. I didn't know about that.
Well, yeah, I hope because this is obviously a passion project, and that comes through.
Yeah.
I did want to give a quick shout out to Lil Ray Howery, who played Rod in this movie, because in such a heavy movie, those scenes where he was able to bring some levity and humor,
needed, absolutely
much needed, because it is an experience, and to have those moments where you can relax for just a moment, and it was just such a great character.
Perfectly crafted, wasn't it? Yeah.
Not fair to point out one person, but yeah, the humor there was very appreciated.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything anyone else would like to say?
I feel like we've covered most of what we want to say.
Anything that didn't get covered or that we skipped over that anyone needed to chime in on?
No, I think that feels very positive, guys. Feels like another wonderful our AGM that we have now yearly.
Can you say that again? It kind of cut you out, sorry.
No, I was saying it was another wonderful rendezvous with you gentlemen this year. I think we've got an exciting year ahead for cinema. We were talking about this earlier, about what we're looking forward to most at the cinema in 2018. And listeners will know that we now have our summer blockbuster rendezvous that we like to do. So you'll be hearing the collaboration again.
Yes.
I would like to have a little Miss Cleo moment and say I will be putting Han Solo in Biggest Disappointment next year.
Okay.
What the heck?
I'm really excited for that, but I do not think it's going to deliver. I really don't.
It's a lot, man. I don't know. You're signing up to something very early on. by saying that.
It's interesting.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I could be incredibly wrong, but that's what chances are for. You take them. Yeah.
But you've gone on record now and said
I don't know. I'm very
Actually on
concerned
record,
about the changing of directors. I wanted to see the first director's take on it. But yeah, we'll see how it comes out and see if I'm eating my words.
We're just puzzled as to where it all is, because although I did say like it's Super Bowl Sunday in America today, isn't it? And I was wondering.
I don't care.
I was wondering if we might be getting a Han Solo hint in the very expensive movie trailer section of the Super Bowl. We'll see.
What is that?
I don't think Disney need to do that though. Like I think, especially at this point, like obviously it's nice to have the trailer air at the Super Bowl because loads of people are going to see it. But at this point, I feel like they could release it at 4 a.m. and by the time everyone's waking up to go to work, it will have been seen about 20 million times.
Yeah.
Like, they don't need to spend the money on the Super Bowl for this.
That's a very good point, and we did
at least right now.
And we did say that, like, in a clever sort of way, like everyone's talking about, where's the trailer, where's the pictures, blah, blah, blah. But in a weird sort of way, we're all still talking about it. And you said that, didn't you? Because it's like it's a funny sort of marketing. It's the cheapest form of marketing, but it seems to be working because everyone's still talking about the film.
Yeah, yeah, and it's one of the things that I always find it interesting when, especially now, Disney owns so many different franchises, and everyone knows that, and so pretty much anything that's coming out, loads of people are going to see regardless of like what the critics say, because it's a Disney owned thing. So obviously all of the Disney animation studio films, loads of people are going to see. All of the Pixar films, loads of people are going to see. All of the Marvel films, loads of people are going to see. And Star Wars is always a big draw. So like they basically need to do no marketing whatsoever for those things, because everyone's going to see it anyway.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Although I will say now, my film that I just realised that I'm most looking forward to for this year, which might also fall into biggest disappointments, possibly, we'll see, is Incredibles 2.
Oh, yeah. I'm very much looking forward to that as well, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they've got everyone back for it, so...
I don't know what I'm feeling for...
Any other predictions?
I'm just thinking about this year. I mean, I'm obviously very, very excited about the Infinity War, but that could go either way, and we've said before, like, whether the film is good or bad, that is going to be a monstrous film. That's going to be a monster of a film, like something we've never seen before. Massive. The budget's going to be something colossal, and that could make it go either way. So I'm very interested to see what's going to happen there.
And I'm interested to hear Byron's take on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, don't worry, you will, boys. When the time comes, it will happen. So I'm just biding my time. I'm not thinking anything at the moment. I'm very up and down on that. So we'll just see it. I'll just deal with it on a case by case basis.
That sounds like a good plan.
All right.
Okay, well, gentlemen, are we wrapped for another year?
Yes, I think
so.
That is everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for sticking with us.
Yes. We better let the poor listeners go.
Yes. Let all of your hate directed to, what was your guys' Twitter again?
Podcast on Twitter and Facebook and
Any
Amazon.
issues with everything, direct them towards Byron and Bear.
Yeah. Go find them on Amazon and leave them a bad review.
Yes. But yeah, feedback always welcome.
Yeah.
So, any closing words, anyone? Are we ready to sign off?
All good from me.
And
All right, so we will see you on the 6th annual unofficial official non-Academy Awards.
Or UONAAs. As they will now forever be known.
Be speaking to you sooner than that, I think, with a review here in the coming months. So,
all right.
So with that, I've been Brian.
I've been Paul.
And I've been Tom.
I've been Byron.
And bye, folks.
Bye. Bye.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here? It's over.
Go home. Go.